Welcome back to the Wizards of Amazon podcast, your weekly blueprint for explosive success. I'm Carlos Alvarez, full-time successful Amazon seller and organizer of the largest Amazon seller meetup group in the world. Let's do this. Welcome to the Wizards of Amazon podcast, where we cover all things private label. My name is Carlos Alvarez, and I'll be your host for the show. On today's episode, we have two amazing people, Norman Farrar and Shane Oglow from PR Reach. What's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
All right, good to be here.
I love how we do these intros and we act like we didn't already have like a 20-minute chat beforehand, like we're just starting the call, right?
Did we?
Norm, you've been on the show before, episode 41, talking about Honu Worldwide, one of like 600 companies that you own in the Amazon space, and with Afolabi, which was amazing. My listeners loved it. You also presented at one or more, I think at least two meetup events in my meetup group, which is absolutely amazing. For people that don't know you though, which means they started selling today. At some point we got to get an intro out of you so people know who you are. But Shane, you have not been on the show before, and you presented to my group a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I was absolutely blown away with your presentation. It was about public relations. I don't know how we haven't met. You had some really cool theories as to why that was before we started recording. But I definitely want to get an intro from you. I've not had you on the podcast, and I'm sure I'm going to be inviting you back because I love imposing on your time. So yeah. Can you guys... I want to know all the gory details. How'd you meet? Who ambushed who? Who tricked who into this partnership? Like, tell me about both of you.
I don't know, Norm, do you want to go first?
Arm wrestle.
I don't remember
There we
how
go.
we met.
Virtual arm wrestle.
I honestly don't remember how we met.
No, I remember.
So this is good. This is something that no one's asked. For sure. I'm checking the box.
Yeah, no, it was at a
bar.
Yeah, it was at a bar. It was at an amazing event, Mastermind. And this was after one of the events, ASM, whatever. But we met there, and we attended a Mastermind, and then we just got talking.
That sounds plausible.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
What was there alcohol involved?
No.
You know, Norm, this is a few times now where you've met someone. I think it was the same thing with Norm. It stemmed from, not Norm, with Afolabi, where it stems from a mastermind.
All my connections stem from, that's why I love networking. You know, I'll spend a ton of money going to masterminds and conferences. I find really interesting people and stay in touch. And we end up, forming different types of, relationships, like with Shane and I with PR Reach. I knew Shane probably for a year and a half, and I knew he was the perfect person to, be the president of PR Reach. So, anyways, yeah, that all came from a network.
Was this so far back, like biblical days, that you were learning to sell on Amazon with ASM, or was this, you were kind of like already the go-to people for information and you were at this event?
Well, Shane was definitely the go-to person for information. I just had a baby beard back then, but it was probably about, I would say it was probably about 2 or 3 years ago, wasn't it, Shane?
Yeah, I think probably 2017 would have been about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And Shane, your backstory in relation to, I guess, PR, you were at an ASM event. Are you an Amazon seller? What's your connection to Amazon?
Yeah, well, I mean, I started, like so many people in kind of that initial burst, 2013, 14, selling back then, and did the ASM thing. And then they asked me to come and, do a bit of, mentoring and just helping out with the groups. And one thing led to another, got more involved. And eventually I ended up doing I think it was ASM 5 and 6. It could have been 4 and 5. I think it's 5 and 6. I always forget. But I ended up co-producing those two courses. And then kind of finished I was still doing things with Amazing here and there, contract things up until last year. But that's how I got involved in the Amazon space. Like a lot of people back in the day when ASM was like the only game in town, practically.
Yeah, ASM, for those that don't know, Amazing Selling Machine. Yes. What were they called? What was round one called? It was something different. AMM. I forgot. Yeah. Okay.
Amazing Money Machine.
Amazing Money Machine. So it appears that similar to Afolabi, you're also beyond humbled. I come across some people with ASM, and it's either I'm as wealthy as Bill Gates now because of ASM, or I've been suing them for 2 years because I lost my money, right? Like, it seems like there is no middle ground there. I personally have no experience with them because I just had been selling for so long beforehand. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have been in ASM too. But I love how you said, I dabbled with ASM and they just wanted me to be a mentor, and then I co-produced. So your story sounds like you kind of did well.
Yeah, I did pretty good out of the gate. And yeah, I remember back in those days, like ASM 1-2 days, you go to these conferences and you're just desperately trying to find someone who really knew what was going on. And it was hard to find information. It's not like it is now. So it was really important to make connections with people who had been around the block or were really pushing things. It was good out of the gate. I was super happy, and a fairly diverse background before that, but nothing really in the e-com space. I was a trader for many years, so it's not like I wasn't on the computer for a long time, but I'd never really done much in the e-com space. So I was a relative newbie back in 2013.
Are both of you still active sellers, or is PR reach and in Norm's case the other 900 businesses of his the major priority?
This week he has 900. Next week probably 1,000. But so I only have a small stake left in one brand, which I'm not really actively involved in. I was actually, I talked to Norm about this a few months back. I was going to partner with someone and launch a new brand, which I haven't done in ages. That's been delayed, but I still, in and out,
On the, it's funny you said that. On the consulting side of my business, I'm involved daily with new launches and new products and all that stuff. I decided to launch one of my own again. Like, this is just mine. I haven't done one of my own, and it had been 3.5 years, because that's about the time my wife is pregnant, my son's about to be born. And then with the kids, I was like, this is going to be my private label. Then my daughter was born, and that was my next private label. So I'm going to launch this other one. I launch it. It's urban gardening. It's been in a suspended account now for like 2 months. I thought I was beyond that. I was like, no, I've been selling for X amount of time. You don't suspend me. It was very humbling. So I've been in an account suspension situation for 2 months on the new brand. It's hilarious.
That's a big difference from when we started. Even with my managed services company, we'll come across that all the time. All of a sudden it can no longer just launch. It's, oh yeah, we got to do this. Oh yeah, we got to get the approval. Oh yeah, they're scrutinizing the brand registry. Oh yeah, I got to talk to Chris McCabe because of this issue or that issue. It's not. I mean, if it's easy, I guess you have to work with those niches. But I just find that so many products nowadays, it's hell to get going. Like they stop the momentum. IPI. Restrictions. You got a new product. Okay, leading up to Prime Day, leading up to Prime Day. Well, we had problems getting the product into Amazon. We had one product that took 3 months. 3 months to get into Amazon, and this was a product that had 5,000 units, and this wasn't a cheap product.
Right,
sitting there, and we couldn't bring the product in.
Well, here's a kicker. I'm suspended for selling counterfeit items. It's my PL. It's like, there's no infringement. There's no anything. There's brand registry. There's everything. I'm suspended for selling my own product as a counterfeit, supposedly. But
sometime, Carlos, I don't know when, but this is going to bite Amazon in the butt, because when we all started out, it was kind of, well, not hobbyish, but we were making money. Now people's life savings are on the line, and it's a whole different story when people are putting in fake counterfeit claims, or like you have a product that you're getting suspended for, and you own it. and people are going bankrupt. And and that's not the norm, but there's enough of these people. I don't know what will happen, but Amazon's and Amazon is doing a better job than they did before. But I'm just finding that, like with you, if you do get caught up, it's hell to try to, unless you go to like a Chris McCabe or a Yale Cavalier or whoever. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like two POAs in, and I'm like, really? But it's all good. I like to look at it. I'm sure you guys do too. Like when categories get gated and brands get gated throughout my selling journey, it's like, okay, well, that just eliminated a bunch of hobbyist sellers, and that leaves more for me. Mm-hmm. This borders on the ridiculous, but I'm having fun with it. But you're right though. I'm probably 65, 70,000 in, and imagine if this was just the end all be all for me. Like I went all in on this. I did my research. I believed the course. I believed my guru or my agency, and I went in, and now nothing. 2 months of supposedly selling my own product counterfeit. So, and
I want to clarify something too. That you also like being kicked between the legs.
I do. Yeah. It's a side thing of mine.
Yeah.
Many years now, actually 15 to be exact. All right. So you touched on a few things about, ranking and how things have changed and stuff like that. So I would love, since I have both of you here, I'd love to talk about the effect. Well, the A10, since we're talking about it now, and I'm seeing blogs, and there was a cool podcast by Data Hawk. And then when Shane, you were talking, when you're presenting to my meetup group, you dropped it in there. My ears did the whole perking up thing. And it had to do with the new effect on external traffic to Amazon with the A10 algorithm. When we were presenting, it was specifically via PR. So for people that don't know what PR is, can we talk really quick about the differences? Because I say PR, and to this day, I'm just thinking press releases. Can we talk about the difference between press releases and public relations?
Yeah, I mean, they're related. I mean, press releases are a component of a public relations professional and their campaign and their toolbox, I guess is probably the best way to explain that. But, it's basically just influence people's minds, getting messages out there consistently. It's just, it's another version of advertising in a way, but it doesn't go away like advertising. It stays around forever. So whether that's, constant exposure on Google, whether it's placements with bloggers, influencers, or websites, magazines, webinars, it's just that big media spectrum. Just constantly keeping people on the top of the news cycle all the time in front of people's faces. And that's, of course, what we're focusing on, because that's when you start to build a brand. And, I think a lot of people I've spoken to, especially this year, are, I'm not going to say they're eager to leave Amazon. They're not leaving Amazon. They're eager to properly diversify off Amazon. Amazon is...
Cut the umbilical cord.
Yeah. And we all have that love-hate relationship. It's not going away. We're not leaving it, but we're just not being solely dependent on it. And as we know, Amazon hogs data, and it's not your customers, it's theirs. And, there's power in building that list. You can increase your multiples. But when you build that brand, of course, you're increasing your conversion rates. You can charge more prices. You become a bit more, resilient against competition. There's just so many benefits, and it makes the expansion. If you start a Shopify, you're on Walmart, or get into Costco, whatever, you carry that brand weight and authority with you. So here, I think the typical example we've all seen, we've probably all done it ourselves, is that, oh, geez, I need to shop my Shopify account. So you open up a Shopify account and you get 5 sales that month. Like it's literally crickets, right? Because it's a totally different game. But when you've spent some time invested in building, a bit of love on search engines, getting some PR out there, starting to build you stop being a nameless, faceless Amazon brand like everyone else, and you start becoming your brand. It makes that transition off of Amazon a lot smoother.
And PR, in my experience, I use PR. I think it's amazing. As a matter of fact, I'm waiting to get out of, I'm working with a great team. I'm waiting to get out of I think I have like 4 months left on an 18-month thing I have with an agency, and then I'm jumping over to PR Reach. But I could just bug you guys. I could just be like, hey, here's my excuse. What's up? But for people not listening, where exactly does PR fit in this? Is it to rank my website? Is it to, gain page position on specific keywords? Is it what?
Yeah, I'll say something that I'll let Norm chime in too, because he might have a little bit different tax, but it can be all those things. It doesn't have to be, but those are all components of PR. So a lot of stuff we're doing is, getting that search engine love. So you're starting to show up on the search results, whether those results take you back to your Amazon page, your Shopify page, whatever. But it's that high traffic, high authority placements. And, let's say, we get you into, Inc. magazine or something. Okay, great. That link is never going away. You can then squeeze juice out of that for years. I mean, you write blogs that link to it. You put it into social media. It can be involved in your packaging, your newsletter, podcast. Like you just squeeze. And if you're constantly getting new PR rolling in all the time, again, your competitors look at you and they're like, well, how the hell are you always on top of the news cycle? Like, what's going on? Well, they got a PR pro in the background constantly pushing you in front of those high authority, high traffic sites, influencers, whatever.
But before we let Norm jump in, I had to check that I didn't have him on mute because he's just observing.
I'm absorbing.
Your mic okay? I love what you said there about a PR pro on the back end, because in some instances, actually all the way up until your presentation, pitching PR to my group as something that they should be paying attention to, and a lot more attention than a lot of BS strategies that are out there that are the flashes in the pan. It was a hard pitch because I'm talking to them about, say I talk about PR Reach, and I talk to them about, some other agencies before PR Reach. It's actually one day when Norm and I first had our major conversation. It was the same day, I think. What was it? We were having a meetup, or there was something about some other PR firm or something that I was talking about. But the price, someone's like, I can go to Fiverr and get one for $5.
Oh God.
Right. And so when you said pro PR Reach, do you mind clarifying that for anyone that's like, yeah, I like PR, but I'm not paying this. Let me just go to Fiverr.
Yeah. And just to clarify here too, a lot of people think PR, they go to Fiverr and get a press release, which is a total mistake. But versus even a PR person, or here's another great situation. Someone says, hey, you know what, gosh, so-and-so brand, they were in Backyard Barbecue magazine. I want to get back, or I got this gift guide or whatever that happens to be. So what they do is they do it themselves. They hire a VA, they get the spouse who knows to go out there, do some web research, go onto these websites, find the editor's email address, whether or not it's still legit or works or not, and create this big spreadsheet and spend all this time trying to pitch. And every now and then you might get something, but 99% of the time it takes a lot of time. For us, it's all about personal relationships. So when we brought on our PR team, they'd already been doing this for over 20 years. And, to be perfectly blunt, we hired them for their Rolodex. Obviously they have skill in creating content and doing all those things, but industry contacts, personal industry contacts at every major media outlet and network is what makes all the difference. And that's what speeds things up. I mean, you could every now and then get a placement, maybe a couple of times a year on your own, but month after month, it's all about the contacts, and it's about having a pro. And just one quick mention before Norm comes on, for people who go out to, a place like Fiverr or a press release site that does, a $5 press release or free or something, never, ever, ever do it. I mean, chances are you're going to be sent out to a link farm. I think too, a lot of on the content side, what we're doing, we have all kinds of different things we're doing. It's no secret. We're just giving Google what it wants. We're feeding it high quality content, well written, not keyword stuff, snappy, smart linking. We're not trying to, sneak in any goofy URLs or promo. Like, it's all above board. We're just But we have the advantage where we've got distribution networks and syndication, whereas the average Joe, it takes a lot longer where we can get in front of eyeballs. But yeah, that's sort of my spiel on that. I'll let Norm chime in.
Okay. What's your take on that? You approve that message, Norm, or what?
That message is approved. But you know what happened the other day? A friend of mine, I'm sure you know her, Elena Sanders.
Yes.
Okay, so Elena calls me and she goes, Norm, I got a problem. I go, what's the problem? We type in my name and your face comes up everywhere. I went on your podcast and we're trying to show, like, she was a district attorney, and she says, or a defense attorney, different here in Canada. Anyways, she goes, all this stuff that all my life, all the great stories I have, and all they see is your face. I say, well, that's the beauty of PR, because we did press releases, and that was strictly press releases, by the way. And we were able to knock them off, basically knock her content off. But it was relevant. So that's the thing. It was Elena with relevant content, but talking with me. And I'm not talking about one occasion. It's tons. Like basically the whole first page, I knocked her off. And she goes, stop it. So the other part to this, and we've talked about this, Carlos, we have a client and he's willing to come on and he's willing to be like a case study for us for this. How tough is it right now to take and get Amazon advertising on Amazon DSP? Pretty tough to get even on page one for those, right?
Sure.
Based on this is a brand builder which uses press release information. Because it's well-written content, we knocked Amazon off of first place and second place in some. Amazon called George and said, he's at Clear Ads, and said, what are you doing? How are you doing it? And stop. And we knocked them off. And this was on one, we did it on one release, wasn't it?
The Amazon guy was probably afraid he's going to lose his job.
Well, this was the Amazon VP that for DSP that called. And actually, him and George, they ended up becoming quite good friends because of what happened. And they were trying to figure out what we were doing. But going back to public relations. And it is confusing, but public relation is the event set in motion. PR press releases is the distribution to really figure out or allow people to understand that this event is happening. And on top of what we were talking about just a second ago, with press releases, it all comes down to good quality, high quality distribution. And if you're not using, there's so many sites.
So it's not what you know, it's who you know. That really
exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah, and we'll see that. People. We did it for free. We can do it ourselves. Yeah, you can, but you're not going to have near the quality of somebody that's been in the business for X number of years, who's got the established networks, influencers, the database that can get into periodicals, that can get into trade magazines. This is for press releases, not for public relations.
So sort of like knowing you was how I was able to get Shane on the show.
Yeah, same
it's
sort
very
of
similar
thing.
To that.
Same sort of thing. It's a network.
It's a network.
It's a network. Proper distribution will get you so much more. And we'll see people that just like rebates, right? If you don't do it properly, you're not going to get the results. Same thing with press releases. But then if you take a look at and press releases, by the way, with all the authority links that you have, you put that onto your website. And now those are not only going over to your Amazon listing, possibly, if that's where you're going, over to your website. You can actually have it hosted on your website in the news. If you do one a month and people go in there and see that, you've got some really interesting, you spin the story your own way. So that's the beauty of it.
You just said something though. I don't want to miss this, and it really ties into two questions I had for you, and that is, you said linking from your press release to go to your Amazon listing if that's what you want to do. So the alternative there would be what, a landing page on your website?
Could be. Yeah. So one of the things that we try to do to build Amazon traffic, press releases, by the way, unless you're doing it with a launch and rank strategy, this is not to drive traffic to your site. This is to gain authority. So don't expect that you're going to have thousands or hundreds of thousands of people going over to your site because they've been on the Wall Street Journal and they're looking at your brand, your micro brand, and they're going to get it. It's not going to happen. It's strictly to get high quality links, Washington Post, Miami Herald, linking back, that you have these links back over to your
sure, but
list.
That's doing what? That's getting you better page position in search on Google, which in turn could translate into sales. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, it's both, because let's say that you have one press release that has just your product listing in it. So you've got the product listing that the A10 algorithm loves because it's an authority link that's going to be going back. And we're not talking one authority link. We're talking 100, 200 authority links that are coming back. Then it's being published through, maybe 300 or 400 different channels. And because because Google absolutely loves news, if you take a look at being weighted, this algorithm update, it was one major thing. Content is king. News is above that. So if you're putting out a press release, it's very easy to get ranked. Like we can show press release reports that we get within 24 hours to 48 hours, 200-300 keyword phrases ranked, 170 on page one, 130 number one spots. And a lot of these are crappy keyword phrases, but a lot aren't. And it stays there. Like a lot of the times you can have that one distribution stays there for, quite some time. Like I've shown one, I think it was with you guys. I showed where I published a bully stick press release in 2016, and it was still in number one position for, I think it was health benefits of bully sticks, I think, something like that. But not only were we number one position for that press release, all the other press releases that we did, our Chewy listing was there, our Amazon.ca listing, our Amazon.com listing, our images, the videos. It took up one. Do you remember that? It took
absolutely.
Up 2 pages, and we just missed out on 2 spots on Google. So I don't know about you, but if you could do that with your listing, would you not do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
And nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
Carlos.
That's where I love to be.
We are talking, like we talk all the time to people, and they're always, I'm talking about the high majority, are always looking at the fancy marketing techniques. Oh, if you do this, if you do that, this is the hack of the day. They're not looking at old school marketing. They're not looking at what Amazon is saying that they want. They're not looking at what Google says that they want. Feed the beast, and I haven't
heard that in a while. I think I haven't heard that since the arbitrage days.
There we go. Feed the beast. Anyway, hey, there's a podcast name. There we go.
Yeah. Well, okay. So what is the biggest difference? Because press releases didn't now become a good thing with A10 algorithms rollout. They were great on A9 and I guess A8 and A1 and all that other great stuff. But what makes them so much better specifically with this A10 change? Shane, you had mentioned something in the meetup group when you said it. I don't know if it was like a lucky statement you said and you don't recall it, but it was pretty amazing.
Yeah. I think that the information came back that the A10 was going to be giving more authority and more weight to those high authority backlinks. And we always knew that was the case because we could test it. We could hit like a listing with nothing but press releases, and sometimes we could get some significant keyword movement. We can't do it all the time. That's why we don't offer that as a specific service just on its own. I don't know if we need to get into that, but as part of our launch strategy, we always pair it up with external keyword traffic, so it assists. In that way, it works really quite nice. But yeah, Amazon, finally came out and said, "Yep, no, we're looking at these authority links coming in." Again, we always knew it, and that's why. And then combined with, I think Norm mentioned it too, the latest Google update came out, it was called Bird or something, 4 months back. They put more weight on news because they treat press releases in particular as kind of its own special type of content. And I thought, beautiful, this plays, right into what we're doing. And I think, when Norm talks about that bully stick listing that he talked about and how it absolutely dominated in large part to press releases, there's other content too, that the press releases, we can point links to different things. Like we can push up blog articles. We can do all kinds of things with press releases. I think the problem that most people have is, you get the old school people. There used to be a hack, right, up till about 2014, 2015 with press releases. When that hack loophole got closed, up, people said, "Oh, press releases don't work." No, just that little hack stopped working. That old school, long-term building your own business works just fine. But most people come in and they think, "Hey, Shane, I want to do a press release and change my business." Yeah, it's not going to happen.
How many times does that happen, Shane, where somebody does one press release and they've come back and said, "Why are we not national for all these keywords?" I mean,
yeah. I'm trying to rank my iPhone case. How come I'm not number one?
So Amazon in A10 is giving a lot more weight for a quality backlink to an Amazon listing, like to their site.
Yeah. That's what we understand. Linking directly to your product detail page, or store, or whatever. But
So it's the link itself. So like, let's say Wall Street Journal has the micro brand on there, and maybe that link is not getting a ton of traffic, like straight to their Amazon listing, but because the link exists.
Yeah, and I want to clarify something too, that nobody knows for sure the way that the A10 is working.
Correct.
This is just what we've observed, and this is trickled down through what other people have observed. But we know that when we put out a press release, that we see something happen, especially if it's done right. So the other parts to this, though, there are other areas that you can link back. So if you go and you create, or if you have a great review site like Wirecutter, Consumer Reports. But if they pick you up and they put a link on their site, you'll notice a huge difference. Wirecutter, if you don't know, is owned by the New York Times, and it's like one of the go-to review sites. And if you get voted number one, in category, you might as well, you're printing money. Right. You'll get so much traffic. I know with one of our products, if they do probably a quarterly special, we'll have probably an extra $100,000 in sales that month, that day or two, when they're promoting the product. It's crazy. And why? Amazon loves the link. You'll see that it'll boost up. If we're down a bit, they'll boost us up. And is that magic? We're following it on Helium 10. We're watching it and we're going, "Oh, what's happening?" Like, this actually happens. You go and you go, "What the hell's happening? Like, why did these keywords all of a sudden get boosted even higher?" Oh, Wirecutter, And then the other thing to this too is, what are some other ways? So you can have, one of the things that's noted for A10 is offsite traffic. Mm-hmm. Offsite traffic being your website. Well, here's a trick that if you want to get the best of both worlds.
Oh, let me get something to write with real quick. No, I'm just kidding. Go for it.
Okay. So if you want to get, 2 sales instead of 1, you drive traffic. Okay. So you go on Facebook, you drive traffic over to your your website. Within that website, there's a pop-up or something that shows the product that's on Amazon plus a sample. or something along those lines, right? An added value thing that you can't get on Amazon. So the person's on there, they see the product. You can tell them that, you can get the added value product for the same price. But if you want, like once they click and they buy it, you've got a client, now you've got their email address and everything else. Now here's a special 15% off on Amazon. So they want it, instead of driving it again just through your site, you're buying that product on Amazon, which is linking directly over to Amazon. They're giving that weight because the traffic's coming from your website. So traffic coming from your website is also a big news. And also influencers. If you can get an influencer to publish something, or a brand ambassador, even better. So if you can get brand ambassadors like Paul Barron, you want to see a genius when it comes to brand ambassadors, talk to that guy. He's built his brand.
Well, Paul Barron spoke with us in San Francisco before this. He's like the ManyChat genius, right?
He is. He's and he
has like a pig farm or like a chicken farm in his backyard or something wild like that. He's wild. He's awesome.
He's an incredible guy, and he is. Like, I'm going to say he's a genius when it comes to ManyChat or with chatbots. But what he's done is he built his entire platform, his product, which is seasonal. I would never touch. With $1 million, I would never touch it. I wouldn't go into his category. I would have passed it by. He's been able to not only dominate it, become bestseller across all these keywords. He doesn't put the marketing dollars in. He gets all of his, like just the last 2 months. You love Amazon Live, Amazon Post.
Absolutely.
He got, get this, 2,000 images and videos for his product for Amazon Posts, and this is only the last couple months, and for Live, free of charge, while his brand ambassadors pumped out content, which linked back to his site and linked over to
so like user generated content.
Yeah,
images. Wow.
Yeah, well, yeah, user generated images, and because the brand ambassador, there's a complete different structure. When you're talking about an influencer, there's different types of influencers: nano influencers, micro influencers, brand ambassadors. When they reach that level of brand ambassador, oh my God, people love the product. People generate content for you for free. Although Paul says he won't accept free, he always pays for content. He doesn't feel, he always feels that he should pay for that, but they love the brand. And they do it for you for free. He can go in and type in, I need you to highlight the features, the benefits, one of the ingredients, whatever it is. Similar to press releases, now you've got all this content that's going out. It's getting out through a network of people that people trust. Now, the nano influencers are the people that probably have the best success with this type, smaller group, and people, when they see it, they actually believe it. On the top of the food chain there, like influencers, that's like going to a celebrity and they might have it in the background and you're taking your chances of paying them $3,000, $5,000. People might not, that sucks. Like, I'd much rather go with a nano influencer, which is up to about 10,000 followers. Micro influencers have up to about 100,000 followers. And then you've got your influencers from there on. But it's incredible. And the other thing now, if you think about this, either the content that they're producing or a well-written blog article. So Amazon, wants you to spend time on page, right? So that's why we put videos on the page. That's why we put the A+ content on we want them to spend time on our page, engagement. Well, same thing with Google. If you're building out your e-commerce site, you want to have a really great article, which could be written by your brand ambassador or by a content writer. You get that. You get the press release to link to that. The article links to either your product page in your shopping, like in Shopify, or directly back over to Amazon. Your press release does the exact same. And while this is all going on, you made a very inexpensive Animoto video talking about, the first 5 tips of that blog article, and you've put it in there, and you've put it into your press release. It's all uber simple to do, but it allows you to have time on page, which is another major factor for both.
Sweet. That was a lot of golden nuggets there.
I mean, I've probably, screwed everybody up, but really it's just, all it is, working with, if you can work with an influencer or a brand ambassador that you can get to publish your product, that's a whole bunch of, that's more links going back to your page.
For sure. What about, walk me through how, I get it. But you also have something really cool brewing. I don't know if it's fully released yet, but you have something brewing about a launch method and everything like that. Can you walk through what?
Sure. For
a PR virgin, how does a PR virgin approach this on, when to deploy with the A10 in mind, when to deploy press releases? Is it, several months before mass production? Is it, halfway through? Is it once I've received it on the water, it's selling? When to deploy it? What to sort of look at for budget, like a range? I know the only answer is it depends, but what to look for as far as a range, and how to use this in conjunction with what you and Shane talked about, as part of an overall launch strategy.
Well, Shane, why don't you talk about the launch and rank strategy we have at PR Reach? And I'll explain the other.
Sure. And to answer your question, Carlos, is how much does it cost? I think really the only reply is how much you got.
Right.
Yeah.
I start at $1. I'm starting at $1.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So just what we're doing with PR Reach. We've got a couple of things we're doing. One is I think we're the only ones doing it. Just a pure managed rebate service where we've gone out there. We use certain systems. We have our own team. We have access to proprietary systems. We actually don't use any pooled groups anymore, even if they're vetted. We've decided to generally stay. I shouldn't say it always, but for the most part. So for the most part, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get every single rebate purchaser to be unique. So we don't want to reuse the same people. Again, and then we talked a little bit before the call about some things coming up with Amazon and footprints and, it was inevitable. We all knew this was coming. But anyways, we have this managed rebate service where we're driving, social signals and just a nice, robust, very diverse group of signals as part of rebate campaigns, because rebate campaigns are still working. I know that they've evolved a lot over the last couple of years. Great. We do that. And, another thing, a really important thing to mention is that we never view ranking as a one and done. A lot of, especially newbies come, they think they'll do a campaign for a week or two and they walk away and they sit on the beach in Tahiti. Of course, nothing could be further from the truth. So we try to plan things out in stages, long-term, and then ranking maintenance, we treat just as important as the rank, as the launch itself. But what we've done is, because we have the PRs and we know the power of the backlinks, we pair up press releases and time it and coordinate it with the keyword traffic. And the very important things to remember here is, first of all, it's not just one press release. We're doing it in a bunch, whether that's 6, 8, 10, 12, whatever it happens to be. Depends on the product, depends on the keywords we're going after. And we time the PRs at the same time as the launch. And we also make sure we're using the same keyword families. So there's a lot of relevancy there. And we push that out. And when we do that, we find that the keyword velocity moves better, and it more importantly, it sticks better. Because any launch strategy, even if it's a crappy strategy, if you smash it hard enough, you can push yourself up to the top of page 1. It's just a matter of staying there. And that's another thing too. Is it's probably a good disclaimer: is if you've got a crappy product or a crappy page, don't even bother doing any launch. But for the most part, that's how that system works. So then we introduced a concierge system, because that can get a little bit complicated for some people who aren't familiar with it. We said, no, we'll just do it all for you. So we do the listing audit, we do the keyword research, we build out customized campaigns, and that's how we're launching. And now we have other techniques that Norm will probably talk about, on the maintenance side, or to assist, or that's one pillar to our launches. We've got, the PPC, we've got rebates and PR. We've got, then we start to get into Amazon posts and influencers and public relations. It goes on and on, but those beginning pillars for absolute newbie, it's PPC and having a good launch where there's that external keyword traffic combined with those external backlinks is sort of our first two pillars we focus on.
Awesome. And what about when to deploy this or when to start reaching out to you on this? When I have a product idea, I reach out to the factory. Where in that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a typical launch where you're getting, it's not a crowdfunding or something, because crowdfunding is a little bit different animal. We treat that a bit different. And of course, there's lots of different ways you can do crowdfunding. But if we need, ideally, we're setting up a couple of weeks before your launch. But let's say you're going to be launching on Friday. We like to put out a higher end press release a couple of days beforehand, ideally, sort of prime the pump, which can often really get things going. And then during those first couple of weeks, we're going to smack it with PR. So we'll have most of our content ready to go at that period of time to coincide. So we might be doing 2, 3, 4 press releases a week during that launch. Just depends on how long the launch is, how many units you're pushing out, the keywords you're going after, the competition, all that type of stuff.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Norm, you were going to add the other half of this equation?
Sure. Okay. So one of the things we've found is that so many people are wasting their time with rebates. They either don't use the right numbers, they don't use the right keywords. I mean, if they come over to us, we find that they're dictating to us how many units that they want to spend. And a lot of them want to use very inexpensive services. And as you know, you really need to do more of a custom service, telling people what to do, how to do it, to make this right. Well, we still believe that you need to do this for sales velocity, but we've come up with a patent pending process, the only one out there ever to allow people to rank profitably, launch and rank profitably.
But don't you have to take loss for a while?
We're talking about breaking even to launching profitably. So no more. Well, we still use some rebate, and that's where the small loss would be. Is you still have a smaller number of rebates that you would use, but at the same time, we have a spreadsheet that we work with you on to show you what your exact to the penny cost would be at very worst, like breaking even. And what we're doing with this is working with a tool. I showed you this tool, but we work with the tool.
Blown away.
Yeah, we identify influencers. We identify your competitor, your competitor's influencers. We target these people that already know that they're buying this type of product. We can identify that, and we can remove all the fake accounts. So what you're doing is you're saving about 40% of your ad spend on Facebook. When I talk about ad spend on Facebook, we're doing all this for you. You're not doing anything, but it's very low. It could be $25 a day. It could be, it could be even lower, but minor amount. Then what happens is while this is going on, we're targeting influencers in your niche. So we're using the leverage of PR reach in our huge influencer base, the public relations side, and Paul's technique of getting them and converting them to brand ambassadors. So ongoing, and like similar to what Shane said earlier, this is not a one and done. This is an ongoing launch, maintain, rank. So you're doing this throughout your ongoing, throughout your, throughout the next year at least. You should be doing it. Not that you'll see changes over a period of it takes a year. You'll see changes immediately. I would just, recommend that you do this. If you go in there, 95 probably % of the people that we've dealt with, they want to do a one and done campaign and they wonder why their keywords collapse. The way that this is structured, you can go in, you can do it, you can cancel at any time. But, and this, I hate trying to make this sound like a pitch, but this is so friggin' awesome what we've seen, that this is why, like Shane and I saw this, got blown away and said, we got to get involved with this. So anyways, we've got something called the Chat Agency, and that's what that does. It's a unique system of launching profitably while building brand ambassadors and our influencers and brand ambassadors. Now, on top of that, I think it was Paul that's told us over 2 years, he's got $1 million of free promo from his brand ambassadors. And just like, what does 2,000 photos, how much does that cost from influencers? How much would that, I know what we charge on our site. Go to PR Reach, check influencers right now, and you'll see we charge $100 for that image. $100. You can go to Thomason, you can go to IntelliFluence, you can go to BuzzSumo. You're going to pay something, $25, $35, $500. This is all free. Like you have a monthly fee, but it's free.
That's insane. And so it's called my Chat.
It's the Chat Agency. Really creative.
Well, okay. So is it live though? Is it something that people
you can go there? But we just threw up a page. So we said, okay, we got to get this page up there. We've got a bunch of clients right now.
No spinning wheels, flashing oranges, your gift.
Of course it's orange.
Like that.
Take a look at it. It had to be orange. It's all about the orange. But anyways, we are taking on clients. It's we are still calling it beta. And if you join like the service now, you'll save about 50%. And I can go through some like the cost so people kind of understand it.
Sure.
But for the influencer part, it's about $1,000 up front. It costs. There's a fee of about $1,750 for onboarding. That's for us to get set up. It's not just setting up a chat bot; it's setting up landing pages. So there's a lot of other things that we're doing behind the scenes. So it's not just a chat bot. There's all sorts of different landing pages that are set up to drive people, creating funnels to get them to become an influencer or brand ambassador. And then it's an ongoing charge of $1,000. And so you take a look at it. You get 2,000 photos. Is it worth $1,000?
Yeah,
it's crazy. And then on the other side, for the launch, it costs $500 for us to get set up. It's $500 a month plus 5% of sale. So I don't know about you, but for $500 a month, to continually maintain, like I know at PR Reach, for our maintenance program, without any rebates or anything, it's $497. And this is going out there and actually finding people to buy your product.
It's insane.
It is.
So the chat group.
Come on, Carlos. The chat.
I haven't wrote it down.
He's baiting you.
Thank you, Shane.
Do it again. The Chat Agency.
Okay, and it's live now, so everyone can get a hold of it.
Right.
Guys, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say you could. There's an email there. You could just reach out, and the customer service is great because you'll be on a half-hour call, getting the explanation.
Okay, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. You guys, but before we wrap it up, how can people get a hold of you? And then we definitely got to get into the part that I'm very curious about, and that's asking you favorite books and why. But first, how can everybody get a hold of you?
Well, for me, it's Norm at PR Reach, and you can always check out normanfarrar.com. That has a bunch of information there. And if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind just plugging the podcast.
For sure, do it.
So we've got a e-com podcast. It's not just Amazon. It's online sellers. Build your business. It's called Lunch with Norm, and that's on Monday, Wednesdays, Friday at noon.
And it's pretty awesome. You've had some pretty amazing people on there.
Well, we had you on.
Exactly. Something I really like about your show, I mean, there's a lot of great shows out there, is I'm not seeing the normal, this person's on the entire podcast circuit. Like these are pretty amazing people. And it's a struggle that I think a lot of podcasters must have, but you've done really well at identifying people. And I guess that speaks to your Rolodex, right? Identifying amazing people in specific niches that, while they're not the who's who maybe in some Amazon Facebook groups, they're powerhouses and
right.
Just, wealths of information. I love that. That's something just that really stands out to me about your show. Like, I'm meeting a lot of new people via your show, like listening to them. They're in my ear. It's really amazing. Made it to the top of my list.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Shane, how do we get a hold of you?
Shane at prreach.com is fine. Happy to chat with anyone. That's probably the best way.
Awesome. Shane, something we ask here at the end, Norm has already shared his on a previous episode. So I'd like to know what Norm's reading now, like what he's currently reading now. But for you, what is your favorite book you've ever read and why?
I'd have to say I'm a big Thomas Hardy fan. Mirror of Casterbridge, Return of the Native, Far from the Madding Crowd, Tesla D'Urbervilles. And the reason why is I'm really into history, but I can open up a Thomas Hardy book and I can just close my eyes and just put my finger on a page and I'll read a sentence or a paragraph, which is just beautiful and eloquent. And I generally find that the English language isn't as flowery or beautiful as many other languages. It's a little bit more base. Not that it can't. I think that he just pulls out. And I'll often read a book and I'll reread a sentence 2 or 3 times because it was just so beautifully constructed. So there's my soft inner side I'm exposing to everyone. But Thomas Hardy, I really enjoy his work. But I'm reading right now, again, probably for the 3rd time, The Slight Edge. I think Olson, right? It's fantastic.
No, it's just amazing. I've read it a good 3 to 5 times. There's another book called The Compound Effect that I don't know which one was written first, but they're very similar. I prefer The Slight Edge. What's the section in there? He says his dad tells him, "You're not coming out unless you're showing bone," or another part I'm talking.
Yeah. It's good. It's just and we just need. It's like we're rereading like Napoleon Hill or like all those things. It's just reinforcing these things that we intuitively know. We forget about. We get lazy. We get bad habits. It's just good reinforcement. It really is.
Yeah, Slight Edge is something I think about also when I'm every now and then I forget the way to do it and I'm looking at a big project and I'm stressed about it and I'm like, it's got to get done now. And you just look at it on your Trello board or wherever and you haven't. It reminds me, break this down into micro steps. The example it gives about the shuttle on the way to the moon, it's like, was it like 95% of the time it's off course. It's not even heading in the direction of the moon. And it's these slight course corrections and these little micro things you can do that will let you hit it home. So yeah, awesome book. Great one.
Fantastic. And I just want to say I might have to jump off a little bit early here because I do have something at the bottom of the hour I have to
all good.
attend. So if I disappear, that's why. I'll just say thank you, Carlos, for having me on.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Definitely. Yeah. Norm, what about you? What are you reading now?
Well, I'm just finishing up this series. This is a fiction series from James Clavell. And I don't know if you've ever heard it, but he's the author of Shogun, Taipan, Gaijin. Yep. Anyways, it's a fantastic series. I loved it. But business-wise, just finishing up in Search of Excellence. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but it's a very good book. I highly recommend it. It's about what top executives, top business people are doing and why. And I just ordered. You've probably got this one, but Den of Thieves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that'll be a great read.
That's awesome. You guys rocked. Thank you so much for your time. I enjoyed the pre-talk before we started recording and all of our little side chats. So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And I look forward to talking to everybody next week.
Thanks for having us, Carlos.
Liked what you heard and want to stay connected? Join our Facebook group or find me anywhere on social media at Wizards of Amazon, or text the word Amazon to 69922.